Hey everybody, so welcome on into another video. It is 10.1.5 release day for EU, so I wanted to make a quick video for anyone who's returning to Feral Druid or hasn't played it before or hasn't played it in a little while and you want to get into it. You want a simplistic build just to get up to scratch. Excuse the pun. And then from there, you can start to get into more advanced stuff, and I will do a follow-up, like more advanced video as well, and a more advanced build and stuff. Now, this is going to be aimed at Mythic Plus specifically. Of course, if you want the best builds and setups and stuff like that for Raid, then you can go on to Warcraft logs, and you can search by each individual boss and see what people are playing there. This is going to be a quick overview, quick rundown of everything that you're going to want to do here. So, obviously, so like stat weights wise, starting with that very, very simple. It's crit, mastery, haste. In that order, those kind of like the prior that you want. Now in Mythic Plus, your crit value is a little bit lower than in, say, like Raid, where it's a single target. The reason being is that when there are more mobs, you're more likely to crit, which means that you have less reliance on it because you're critting more often, which means you're getting the value out of your combo point generation. So then Mastery gains a lot of value, and Haste also gains a lot of value. So I roughly have around about like, you know, I'll use a flask and I'll go like Corrupting Rage flask, and I have like 43% crit, which is arguably a little bit too much, and then like 74 roughly % mastery and 17% haste and stuff. So you can use, I use Buzzing Rune and Howling Rune depending on the build and situation that I'm in, but those are the stat weights generally speaking. Now you want to use the new tier set. I also use the old tier set sometimes, not all the time. But you want to just aim to just get the new tier set, grab that up. You can run the slime expulsion boots, you can craft those. You can also craft the toxic boots, I believe they are. And then I grab the lifebound belt as well. And I use those sometimes, like more so for Raid. I don't really use them in Mythic Plus because I don't really see as much value from them personally. I instead opt for Spore Cloak. At the end of the day, if you're alive, you're going to continue doing damage. If you're not used to the dungeons, if you're just returning, or you're not used to playing Feral and you know, the cadence of incoming damage and what you can do to survive it, Spore Cloak, super safe, super solid option. I'm a super big Spore Cloak fan. And then I'm running Lariat, just because I still think it's decent, and I may as well. I mean, Slime Boots are like good, but I just like running these, so it's fine. In terms of like Trinkets, Harlan's is good, Essence is good if people are using it, Beacon's really good. There's a few other raid trinkets like Neltharion and stuff like that you can get. So there are a few options, bomb trinkets, stuff like that. Now, in terms of the build, so class tree, pretty standard stuff from me. There are a couple things you can tweak around, so you can take Wild Charge instead of Tiger Dash. Things like additional movement speed you don't really need. You can take Maim and stuff if you want it, but I'm getting all the defensives, I'm getting all the movement speed, the utility, and all that kind of stuff. Pretty standard. You can do some things. If you want to take Protector of the Pack, you can. You can drop this off, and you know, you could do that or something if you want to, or whatever. But there are a few things that you can change around. New talent that did just come in, Rising Light, Falling Night. Increase your damage and healing done by 3% during the day. Increase your versatility by 2% during the night. So most of you gamers staying up late, you're not going to get as good value. You want to reset your sleep schedule. You want to wake up early so that you can get the increased damage and healing. Way better value. Try and convince your raid team to start raiding in the day instead of at night. Though this is currently bugged, just so you know, apparently it's only working with direct damage, not with like bleeds and dots and stuff like that. Though we'll see, hopefully that gets fixed very quickly. It might already be fixed by the time you're watching this video. So in terms of the Feral Druid tree itself, so this is a super simplistic build. This is a minimal brain thought power. This is just getting very familiar with what each button does and where you want to use it and why, and you don't have to track too many procs and buffs and this and that. So that's what this build is. Simplistic in your bleeds, simplistic in your finishes, simplistic in tracking things. So coming down the tree, I'm going to start off, I'm picking up all like the AOE things. Primal Wrath, super important. That's your big AOE finisher on 2 or more targets. It also couples well with things like Tear Open Wound. I'm opting to not take Double Clawed Rake. Double Clawed Rake means that you're going to be spreading rakes more easily. However, I'm expecting that you're going to be using this build in lower level dungeons or times where you're maybe not as comfortable switching targets and tracking all these different rakes. So I'm opting to not take Double Clawed Rake. We're just going to miss it out, which is fine. We're going to grab Merciless Claws instead. You could grab Thrashing Claws, which makes it so that you have even fewer things to track, but I really don't think that you need to worry about that. I know you guys are smart enough where you're going to be able to play Merciless Claws and get some extra damage for free. You may as well. Then I've opted for Tireless Energy instead of MOC. This is like an energy talent. You have the option of like Tireless Energy or MOC as your main kind of like energy talents, as well as Soul of the Forest. So you want like 2 out of 3. You never really want 3 out of 3. You don't need it. Moment of Clarity does do more damage than Tireless Energy, but Moment of Clarity has a proc, and it's something that you have to use more brainpower tracking if you want to optimize it. So you can take it. It does just default will do more damage, but I also think Tireless Energy is nice because it's consistent. You can get used to the rhythm of your energy gain, so that's cool. I've opted to not take Sudden Ambush because it's something that procs when you use a finisher, which then increases the damage of one of your next generators. We're not going to be raking a bunch anyway, and I just want it to be one less thing for you guys to have to worry about, so we're not going to take it. We are not taking Brutal Slash. We're going to take Wild Slashes. Brutal Slash is really good, and it's good on single target, but it has a recharge rate, and when it's recharging, you might not know what to do next. So instead, we're just going to say, right, when we're in AoE, we're always going to have Swipe. We're going to have a consistent rotation, and it's going to be just fine. We are not taking Blood Talons. Blood Talons... Okay, so Blood Talons requires you to know, like, be tracking your energy, your combo points, so that you can start generating your Blood Talons at an appropriate time. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of how many Blood Talons you're currently tracking. There's a thing called Snapshotting, where you are going to be, like, empowering your bleeds when you do it, when you use Blood Talons. So you have to track those bleeds, and you don't want to replace a good bleed with a bad bleed, and or a non-snap, a snapped with a non-snapped, and stuff like that. So it's more of a headache playing around Blood Talons. You have to actually think a lot more, moment by moment, what generator you're pressing, what finisher you're pressing, all this kind of stuff. There's more awareness to it. It is really good, and it's more fun. It makes the spec actually, you care about what you're doing, but for now, you don't have to play it. You can just get used to playing Line Strength, which is really good still, does good damage, and it's just default passive. Still taking Apex when we get those procs. We want to use Bite. It's too good to pass up. I know we're doing a simplistic build, but it's too good to pass up. And then I'm going for Convoke instead of Incon. The idea being, you're probably in lower level keys, things are dying very quickly, you want on-demand, upfront, front-loaded burst damage. Convoke is good for that. Incon, not so good. Incon, you want things to live a long time, you want to get the full duration of your Frenzy, bleed on them, so when you're in your Berserk window and you use a generator, a combo point generator, it's going to put an additional bleed effect that lasts 8 seconds. So Incon itself lasts 30 seconds, then you're going to want additional 8 seconds as well for these these dots that you've got on them. So if things die quickly, it's not going to be as good. However, when you're getting into high level keys, you know, 18s, 19s, 20s, yada yada, things probably live a bit longer, especially on Fortified. Incon is going to be superior. Though I'm using Convoke sometimes, even in 24, 25 keys, and it's totally fine. It's no biggie. So you can pick either or. I'd say test them out. See what you're comfortable with. See what you think actually is good value in that kind of environment. Now, in terms of rotation, super simple. We want to try and maximize Tiger Fury uptime as much as possible. Literally just read what the ability does, okay? We want to try and use it as much as possible whenever we're pressing any button. Whenever any mob dies with our bleed on them, because of this effect, Predator, where are you? There. Whenever any mob with our bleed effect on them, any bleed, dies, we get a free Tiger Fury reset. It's really good. It's really good. So we want to maximize the Tiger Fury uptime and be pressing it as much as we can, especially as things start to die and stuff like that. Now, top tip. When you're leaving combat, try and maintain 5 combo points if you can. So, like, as things start to die, just build up combo points and don't try and, like, kill them if they're, like, say, sub 10% health or something. If there's 1 or 2 mobs, just build up combo points so that then when you go into the next pack of mobs, you already have 5 combo points ready to immediately do a finisher move, a Primal Wrath. Primal Wrath is the name of the game, the aim of the game. That's the main thing you want to be doing. That's where 60% of your damage is coming from, is this Primal Wrath. In AoE, 2 or more targets, press it as much as you can. Of course, you are going to want to bite, and there's a talent Rampant Ferocity, which makes it... No, sorry. Sabertooth, which makes it so that when you bite, it increases the damage of all your rips. And that's, like, retroactive. So you can... Or it's dynamically scaling, so you can Ferocious Bite, and it will affect the bleeds that are already currently active. So you don't need to bite and then quickly bleed them. They can already be bleeding, so it's really good. And we're going to be getting a lot of bites from our Apex proc, which is nice. And then we have Rampant Frosty, so when we bite, it also does AoE damage, so that's also good. So we are trying to Primal Wrath a lot, and then I just try and use my Apex Bites, my free bites, in order to fulfill that 4-second window and to do that AoE kind of cleave with that. But you can also squeeze in bites occasionally, even when you don't get a free proc. So without looking at cooldowns currently, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from stealth as much as we possibly can. We're going to Tiger Fury Rake. Then we can do a little cheeky Primal Wrath just to get our dots bleeding. Then we can Thrash. Then we can swipe up to 5. And then we can Primal Wrath. Now we've got a free bite, so we can send that. And then Thrash can get refreshed there. And then we're just swiping. Primal Wrath in. Oh, we get a free little bite. Yep, we can send that. Our bleeds are looking good. Bleeds are looking healthy, so we can just keep swiping. We're going to get another Apex in a sec. I knew it was coming. Keep swiping. Primal Wrath. Free bite. Cool. Tiger Fury again. We can re-thrash there. Sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. And we're just doing like 200k damage on this. And 240k. We're just messing around. We're not even doing anything. We've not popped cooldowns. Nothing. Cool. So, within that, there's things called pandemic windows when it comes to Feral, which is a point at which you can reapply your bleeds when they are currently already active, but you can reapply them, and it will basically take 30% of the maximum duration of that bleed, take the last 30%, and it will apply it onto the new bleed as an addition. So that is going to extend your bleed. So if I show you Primal Wrath lasts 10 seconds, right, with the talents that I have currently selected. So if I apply Primal Wrath here, you're going to see 10 seconds on the clock. Now, if I reapply Primal Wrath now, it's going to go up to 12 seconds instead. So it's taking a portion of that bleed effect, and it's putting it onto the on top again, right? It's taking about 2-3 seconds, and it's applying it to the new dot. So you can reapply your bleeds before they fall off, and it will just carry that damage over. So it's 30% of any of your bleeds. So whether it be Rake, Thrash, or Primal Wrath, or Rip, or whatever it is that you're using, you can do that. So you don't need to wait for your bleeds to fall off fully, just once they hit that pandemic window. That's a quick explanation of it, basically. Now, in terms of how to use cooldowns, you don't have to synchronize your Berserk and your Convoke always. You can have them desynced, and you can use one at one point and one at the other point. It's okay. The longer you are holding on to your offensive cooldowns, the more damage you are ultimately losing. So try not to hold on to your cooldowns too much. If there's a big pivotal moment in a dungeon or a big boss or something, okay, sure. Maybe you hold your Berserk for 10, 20, 30 seconds, okay. If you really need that damage for a boss or something and it's Tyrannical weak. But generally speaking, just send them. So yeah, okay, so we can go in. We can restart this, so we can Tiger Fury, Rake, Thrash. I'll do a little cheeky Primal Wrath. Swipe up to 5. Then I'm going to Berserk Primal Wrath. I'll use this bite. And then we can Convoke here. And then we can Primal Wrath again. Use the free bite. We can bite again. Swipe, Primal Wrath. Swipe, bite, swipe, Primal Wrath, bite, Thrash, bite, Primal Wrath, bite, swiping again. And that's it. I mean, this is a lot of damage for a very simplistic build. I'm not tracking anything right now. I'm literally just looking at my bleeds. I'm spamming swipe. Oh, I got an Apex proc. Cool. Primal Wrath again. Spamming swipe. Really super simple, easy build for you. Now, in terms of the single target. So, the single target, the main aim of the game, is to just maintain your bleeds. Your Rake, your Rip, and your Thrash. That's all you gotta do. When your Rip is healthy, you can look to use Ferocious Bites as a finisher. When your Rip is unhealthy, look to refresh it. Try and always refresh your Rip and Rake, specifically those two things, with Tiger Fury active as much as you possibly can. The reason being, it's going to snapshot them. So Tiger Fury increases the damage of all of your attacks by 27% for their full duration. So there could be 1 second left on Tiger Fury as a buff, and I can press Rip, and for the full duration of that Rip, it will act as if it's Tiger Fury is still active. So it's really powerful, and it's going to increase the damage of that Rip by 27% for the full duration. So it's really strong. So we can go in here, And on single target, looking at like without looking at like cooldowns and stuff. So we can Tiger Fury, Rake, Thrash, build up to 5 with Shred, then we can Rip, and then we can just Shred. Now, we're not looking to swipe in single target. We don't want to be doing that. We will just maintain our Thrash. And that's it. We're not spamming it. Never wanted to do that. Now, I've got Tiger Fury about to drop off. I was at 4 combo points, and I didn't quite have enough energy to get to 5 combo points before I needed to re-rip. So you can just send that rip, because you want it in that Tiger Fury window. Way more important. Now, I can Tiger Fury again here, Thrash, build up to 5, re-rip, right? Remember that Pandemic window? It's going to be different on a single target rip compared to a Primal Wrath, because the durations are different. And that's the only difference between Primal Wrath rip and actual rip, is that a Primal Wrath rip just hits more targets and has a lower duration, and a single target rip only affects one target but has a longer duration. Those are the only like core differences. Now, in terms of how I would do my rotation, but with cooldowns, so imagine I'm in stealth right now. I can Tiger Fury, Rake, Thrash, build up to 5 with Shred, then I can Rip, then I can Berserk Convoke. Then I can bite out of this, then refresh my Rake, then I can bite, then I can Shred, then I can bite, and I can bite, and I can Shred, and I can bite, and I can Shred again, re-Rip, re-Rake, I can bite again, Thrash here, I can bite. So, that's it. Shredding, raking, maintaining Thrash, re-ripping where we can, and that's it. And that's the crux of it. Cool. So, hopefully this was helpful for you guys. This is just a very simplistic build. Super simple, super easy. Let me know if this was helpful for you. And if you want to see a more advanced build and a more advanced way of playing Feral, then let me know in the comment section below. See you again, and enjoy the new patch.